When I was 10 years old, we moved from Egypt to New Zealand. Now, this was a pretty huge change, but one of the hardest things was having to learn a brand new language from scratch and having to do it pretty quick so you can fit in. Now, I used to stress a lot about it because I couldn't even make friends. One time I remember just going into my room and crying because I thought, "Oh, am I ever going to fit in?" I remember trying to articulate this frustration to my ESL teacher, English as a second language teacher. And she looked at me with this gorgeous smile and said, "Lydia, soon enough, you're going to be able to think in English." I looked at her and laughed. That sounded ridiculous, as if I was going to think in English. I could barely construct a sentence in the right order. But lo and behold, within a year, my thoughts became in English. Now, my brain was actually dictating how I felt about this change. You see, there's this thing in our brain called the basal ganglia. And what this does is it's about controlling our habits. So it requires little energy. It's the business as usual of the brain, you know? So when you're starting a new change, for example, learning a new language, another part of the brain takes a bit more control, and that's the prefrontal cortex. Now, what this does is it requires a lot more energy because you're really active about learning something new that is different to your usual habits. And what this does, it then also connects with another part that's called the orbital prefrontal cortex. And that sends these messages, they're called like mismatch or error messages to the amygdala. And that controls your fight, flight, or freeze responses. And in many cases, when I was quite stressed and things just didn't match up, I froze. I didn't know what to say or how to say it, so I just froze. Now, this has a lot to do with how we react to change, and our reactions can often be emotional or irrational. So, for example, when you're trying to implement a change in your organization, you can see that a lot of the responses can be emotional or irrational. And when that does happen, just think what is going on in their minds to elicit this type of behavior. If you missed our last episode in the series of Why People Resist Change, then click the link below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook page. This is Lydia Musa, founder of the Change Hub, specializing in facilitating change that sticks.